Our guest today is the Alderman of the 2nd Ward, where he has lived for over 10 years. He is one of the leading reformers in the City Council, working hard for transparency in government. Our guest today was born and raised on Chicago's South Side in the Pullman District. He earned his undergraduate degree in political science and served as student body president at the University of Illinois. He earned his law degree from Northern Illinois University in 1978. He told me that his ward has roughly 80,000 people now. It's probably about the 10th largest economy in the state of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the City Club of Chicago, Alderman Bob Fioretti. Alderman? All right, Howard, have some fun.
Thank you. And I want to take the opportunity to thank Jay for his kind remarks and the members of the Board of Governors for allowing me to be here today. You know, I've had the opportunity to attend many of these lunches before, and this is the second time I am addressing this great group, and the second time as the Alderman of the 2nd Ward. You know, a year has passed since the last time I've been at this podium, and during that period of time we've achieved some great successes, but we've also begun to face some of our toughest challenges. In the 18 months that I have been Alderman, my staff and I have brought together a community that has been really and truly was divided. A community that was divided on issues ranging from development to employment to affordable housing to education and community neglect. I've begun programs to tackle some of these issues that face our homeowners, our families, our business community and civic leaders, and our churches and schools. As Alderman, my ward, whether it's on the far west end, way past the United Center, where unemployment and underdevelopment are factors, or where on the east end of the ward, near McCormick Place, Soldier Field, where we have rapid development, strains on our infrastructure, needs for schools and parking, or to the south end of the ward, which cuts through Bronzeville to 37th Street, where I am faced with a lack of quality retail and historic preservation issues. Over the past 18 months, my staff and I have implemented new procedures that once never existed. We have collaborated and brought together our church and civic organizations into a network that meets quarterly. We have visited and organized our schools, and I have assigned a volunteer staff member to attend and organize our local school councils. And I don't know if she's here, but Leslie Reck there she is. Leslie, I want to thank you for the help you've done. And I say that because, and I'll get into it in a moment, but Leslie's a full-time lawyer, but she spends a lot of her time at all of our schools and all of the 23 parks that we also have throughout the ward. And I've implemented new procedures that address the issues facing the ward, and I will be addressing 4 of them today. First, I want to talk about the issue of business and job opportunities. I've been working closely with the city to identify programs that will help businesses in my ward. And by working closely with the city's Department of Planning and Development, we are working on creative ways to find additional funding for programs such as the Small Business Incentive Fund, or SPIF. And we are looking at other ways that the city currently has in place to find new ways to improve upon them. One of my challenges has been finding new businesses to locate in the ward. For example, I recently led a bus tour for developers, brokers, corporate executives, small businesses to showcase the development opportunities that exist throughout the ward. Additionally, I meet on a weekly basis or a near weekly basis to assist small businesses to locate within the 2nd Ward. Also, I am working with the Chicago Realtors Association and with developers on the cost of retail space in the 2nd Ward. You know, more often than not, I have small businesses who approach me about what can be done about the cost of rental space. While there is no easy solution, establishing that dialogue between the local developers, the real estate community, and the city, we must achieve a solution. Next, the issue of development is an issue throughout my ward. I've been working with the residents, businesses, and other stakeholders in the Second Ward to include them in a process and work to see that their needs are met. I've created 5 citizen advisory committees that have been operating for over a year and a half and have guided the discussion and have made recommendations relating to development in the ward. While I understand that no one process is perfect, my office continues to find ways to ensure that the process by which development is handled works for all parties involved. In the next month, my office will begin a system to modify the development process based upon the feedback that we've received from the Citizens Advisory Committees and the business community to see that the process will work and will work for those who choose to do business in the ward and that they are successful in doing so. You know, encouraging development in my ward is one of my top priorities. But the development must be good quality development. One of the challenges that I face as alderman in this ward has been the quality of residential development, and its aim is to protect the homeowner. My ward has faced a number of challenges in this regard. Residential development over the past 10 years has resulted in many instances of increased and special assessments for homeowners due to poor construction. And this, quite frankly, is unacceptable. Over the next few months, my office will be hosting a series of construction hearings to provide residents the opportunity to attend and have their concerns heard and documented. I've reached out to colleagues in the neighboring wards of the 2nd, 42nd, and 36th Ward, and we are going to be participating in these hearings. Once completed, we will work with the city to impose stricter standards on those who choose to cut corners in the construction industry at the expense of homeowners. The third issue I want to address is the issue of our senior citizens. I've had the opportunity to visit and meet with many of my senior citizen constituents over the last few years. I've appointed a volunteer service coordinator also in my office, Dorothy McKinney, who is tasked with the important job of finding and engaging our seniors in various programs. While visiting with the seniors over the past few years, I've heard some great ideas. I've learned a lot from their life experiences, whether it be from the senior who has taught in our Chicago public school systems for over 30 years, or the 80-year-old homemaker who has raised 6 children in the 2nd Ward. I have realized that our seniors have much knowledge and wisdom to offer all of us, and that is why I've tasked Dorothy with the job to finding programs that we can partner our seniors with the city's most precious resource, our children. Dorothy will be working with me, with our groups, with others, to be able to establish mentoring programs to partner our seniors with the local elementary school students. I should address in the final one the most important issue, and that being education. Improving our education system and funding is much needed for our public education. The last time I had the opportunity to address the City Club, I spoke a great deal about the mentoring, finding creative funding sources for our schools. And it is vital that the Chicago students obtain additional educational opportunities in the Chicago public schools. The mayor and Arnie Duncan have been working closely to do just that. The Chicago public schools, under Arnie Duncan's leadership, is on the right track in focusing on overhauling the curriculum and encouraging a more rigorous K-12 learning standards. We need to do this if we are going to have our children be equipped to tackle the global marketplace that is set upon us. And we recognize that college preparedness starts long before high school. And we need to recognize that accountability and responsibility for our children is not something that government can provide. It has to begin at home. As Alderman, I have several ways in which we've helped to promote and improve the educational opportunities in my ward. And I believe these approaches are models for all the wards throughout the city of Chicago. The first is that I have strong and ongoing contacts with all of the Second Ward's 34 public schools, the most schools in any ward in the city. This allows me to work directly with the schools to assess their needs and to coordinate services for them. Additionally, I am working in partnership with the city, CPS, so that the resources from tax increment finance districts, and our TIFs as we know them, are allocated to improving and expanding our schools. This has been proven successful in this last year and a half in several instances, such as approving funding for new schools like Jones College Prep High School and Skinner School. When TIF funds are being used for the construction of new schools, I have conditioned my approval on the use of TIF funds requiring CPS to include a neighborhood component in these schools. This allows the families that contribute to the TIF through their property taxes to have their children attend the new schools in their neighborhood. While this is not a perfect process, since the TIF boundaries do not match CPS school boundaries, we are working to refine this procedure and this approach, and we hope to have a better solution in the months to come. Also, working with the city and CPS, my program and my offices have been successful in adding handicapped accessible facilities to several schools through the TIFs. This is part of a needed citywide program, but I will continue to use TIF funds for such an approach. I think everyone knows by looking at the map that's on your table that the Second Ward is rich in resources that can be of greater use to our schools. I have hosted frequent principal breakfasts, a forum where I can help the schools learn about our resources and use them more effectively. I've received positive responses, not only from the school principals, but from many of the cultural institutions in the Second Ward, such as the Field Museum, the Shedd Aquarium, the Adler Planetarium. They are providing special programs and opportunities to educate and inspire our young students in the Second Ward, especially those students of my ward that have never set foot into these cultural treasures. I've also worked with the libraries in my ward, the main library, the branch libraries, to increase their services to the schools and to the community. And they have become areas and locations not only for meetings with my principals, but for meetings for our community at large. We continue to look, however, for corporate partners for our schools in the Second Ward. And as many of you know, I've not been reluctant to ask for this support. Since many of the best partnerships that my office has worked on has included working with Rush Medical Hospital. And I must thank Rush for the support that they've given me, because medical exams for students is a requirement of the Chicago Public Schools. And Rush has worked with my office to host an annual back-to-school fair with free examinations for all the children so that they can return back to school. This has been an overwhelmingly successful program, and I will continue to host that program with Rush. I would also like to point out that Rush has been working closely with my office so that the residents of the Second Ward obtain the necessary skills and training to seek employment at Rush. Through the understanding that we have reached at the last time, we've created 500 jobs designated for the Second Ward and 27th Ward through that program. However, I would be remiss if I did not address one of the dire situations facing our city and state. And it is an issue that the mayor, Arnie Duncan, and many other elected officials have addressed. And this is an issue of social justice. for one of the most difficult issues that blocks educational opportunities for students in my ward and throughout this city and around the state is a lack of adequate school funding mechanism. Many people have tried to address this serious issue, but to no avail. And it must be addressed now, and it must be addressed in Springfield. Until public schools in this city and state are given a new and equitable and adequate source of funding, everything that we do is only a stopgap measure. I have sought to look for creative measures, though, to address the educational funding of the issues in my ward. But we would be doing a disservice to our children and our future if we continue on the current path. However, despite this lack of adequate funding, and as a result of collaboration with the Chicago Public Schools, we have been working on initiatives that encourage the use of dollars through the TIF funds that have been committed for public benefit, and those that receive the TIF funds to reroute monies back into the Second Ward CPS fund that we have developed. This is a program that I am enthusiastic about, and we look forward to encouraging my colleagues to follow into the same footsteps. While we have accomplished much in the last 18 months, there continues to be a great deal more to do. And we look forward to the next year with the challenges we face as we are confronted with the credit and liquidity crisis in our financial system, rising unemployment, wage stagnation, home foreclosures, declining city revenues, and quite frankly, a city budget crisis that will force us in the next couple of days to make some very tough decisions. We must continue to work together in unity and purpose to provide economic growth and job opportunities as we weather this storm. And as we head into the new year, there is much to look forward to as the eyes of the world saw Chicago as they watched President-elect Obama give his victory speech 2 weeks ago in Hutchinson Park, located in the Second Ward. And I had to mention that. But we also look forward to the visit of the International Olympic Committee here in April and the decision in October of next year on whether Chicago will be hosting the 2016 Games. I will continue to work to attract federal, state, and corporate dollars for economic development, mass transit funding, and other infrastructure improvements. In closing, I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity today, and I look forward to working with all of you in partnership to reach the many goals, not just for the Second Ward, but for this great city as we head into the new year. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman, we have a lot of questions for you. Something about, do you believe in NAFTA for the Second Ward, or I'm just...
As long as it's with all the other wards.
I was going to say, Bill Dawson, be proud of you. Okay, here we go. This is from Joyce Saxon, City Club Board of Governors. How does the Second Ward stand on the number of home foreclosures?
Well, first of all, I think I saw the foreclosure crisis happening. I addressed it last year in November at the budget hearings, and I raised the problem that was happening across the city. I've had 3 press conferences in the Second Ward dealing with foreclosures, 2 of them with Senator Durbin regarding his bill that because we have significant amount of foreclosures in the Second Ward. In one block last December, every house went up for sale, into foreclosure, or the water bills or Commonwealth Edison or the other utilities were cut off from the house. So we are faced with serious problems. I also have to say, because of the growth of new condominiums on the East End, we see a significant amount of those 3.5-year ARMs coming to an end, and people are not able to refinance under this current market. So we have a significant number of foreclosures.
This one's from Grant Linsky, also a Board of Governors member. What can you do, or what are you doing to make sure the West Loop Community Organization, is that right? West Loop Community Organization? Operates with transparency with its finances and holding open-end and fair elections. What a sandbag.
I don't know. I'm meeting with them this week, so we'll find out, okay? And I'm going to bring all those points forward. I will. Absolutely. And one last thing, I just want to go back to Joyce on what you just said on the foreclosures. That's why, quite frankly, for the last year, I've been an advocate that we have to freeze the interest rates, and we have to put a moratorium on the foreclosures. And you know, it took this long, a year later, for the banks, some of the banks, to realize that that's what we need to do as we ponder what's happening through this difficult economic crisis that we're facing. So.
Okay. Very, very Obama-esque answer. Very good. But you were sandbagging. You snuck it by me. All right. This is from my my lunchmate, Megan. Megan Clune from the Advocate Healthcare. We have to use pen, Megan. If Chicago gets the Olympics, how do you plan to address the challenge of relocating businesses in the ward, specifically keeping health care services in the ward?
Well, since Advocate was one of the several acres that was going to be taken by eminent domain for the Olympic Village, we did carve that out. Since Advocate is in the second ward, we've also not given the power of eminent domain as we did on the other parcels, and allow for an immediate negotiation to go forward. So there's a lot to see. I mean, quite frankly, there is a lot to do wherever the Olympic Village lands ultimately, and by February the final submissions will be had to the International Olympic Committee. But I think as we look at locations, if we have to relocate businesses, and that this is an area alongside the McCormick Place, we will do whatever we need to make sure it is not disruptive.
Okay. The final question. I feel like Ed McMahon on Karnak. This is the final question. No more questions. Well, after handing out your map, Alderman, how tough is it to tour your ward and stay within its meandering boundaries?
Well, I think it's pretty easy. I do it 3 times a week, so and I do it every Sunday morning, and every Sunday morning. And if you want to come out with me on Saturday with which of the department heads that I have, because we're going to do it at 7 o'clock Saturday morning, this coming Saturday, to look at things that we need to do regarding CDOT, as a matter of fact. So. No, I see Nikki's back here. We bike the ward often, but we do it. We drive all the time, and you know, it's a long, meandering ward. But I must say, being alderman of the second ward, I'm going to tell everybody in here, is the greatest experience anybody could ever have. I mean, we talk about the 34 schools. I see some of the educational institutions here: Columbia, Roosevelt, DePaul. I know I'll be missing them. East West University. They're all out there too. You know, it is a phenomenal experience. I have the people on the west end of the ward. Their needs can be solved by finding jobs through the development that we have on the east end of the ward. And we've been working closely with that. If anybody would have gone through my ward a year ago and saw the neglect that was there and come back now, it would have been as different as night and day. And I'm proud of the accomplishments that we've done throughout the ward. I'm proud of the developments that we've had that have gone through the ward. And, you know, sure, we have some tough times in some of the developments as we're moving them through, but each one of them is succeeding, and they're not shutting down. So it is a great experience to be the alderman of the second ward of the city of Chicago.
How about a round of applause?
Oh, yeah, but I'll take another.
He's taking it. It's a Chicago alderman. He has one, but he'll take another. We do have a cup for you.
Thank you.
A 1-year membership to the City Club, And I agree with you on the second ward. I think Fred Hubbard might have disagreed with you, but that's an old story for only people go back significant number of years. And if you want to know what happened to Fred, ask me afterwards. How about a big round of applause for our speaker? Great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.